Hey there, welcome to today's deep dive. We're really going to dig into machine learning and artificial intelligence in marketing and sales. It's gotten some serious buzz. Apparently, it's really great at making this whole world approachable, for us marketing
Yeah,
folks.
that's a good one.
I even saw that Vijay Jayanti, he's the head honcho of marketing data science over WhatsApp. He said it strikes that perfect balance between really getting into the nitty-gritty and actually being useful for those of us actually doing the work.
Yeah, totally. Making it practical. That's so key.
So ready to boost that marketing game with a little machine learning magic.
Let's do it.
Okay, so the book really digs into this whole thing they call the DSDS gap, which, sounds a little jargony, but it's basically the disconnect between domain specialists, that's us, by the way, and, the data science gurus.
Yeah, and what I find super interesting about that whole thing is how often it plays out in the real world, like in businesses every day.
Okay, so let's break that down then, this whole DSDS gap thing. What kind of roadblocks are we talking about here?
Okay, so imagine this. Marketing wants to do this super targeted campaign, right?
Right.
They've got this gut feeling about a certain customer segment.
Love a good gut feeling.
Right. But here's the thing. They really struggled to get that across to the data science team, to actually turn it into algorithms that actually do something.
Ah, okay, so a breakdown in communication. I've been there.
Totally. Or, like the flip side, data science builds this crazy, powerful predictive model, but the marketing's like, oh, what does it all mean?
Yeah.
They can't really understand the results or explain it to, the higher-ups.
Which, let's be real, is a big part of the job.
Huge. That's the DSDS gap in action. And trust me, it can be a real growth killer for businesses.
It's like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, right?
Exactly.
Right.
And the book does this really cool thing where it doesn't just, point out the problem. It actually tries to build bridges.
Okay, I like the sound of that.
Super clear explanations, real-world case studies. They even have these executive summary sections. For those who just want the bottom line.
Okay, executive summaries, those I can get behind. But wait, the book also has these technical detours? What are those about? A little detour from the bottom line.
Think of them kind of like bonus content, for those who want to geek out a bit more on the technical side.
I like it. Something for everyone. So it seems like the book really dives into a lot of these machine learning techniques, but there are three that it seems to use a lot: linear regression, logistic regression, and neural networks. Why those three?
I mean, they're the essentials, the foundation of your machine learning toolkit.
Oh.
They really do cover a good chunk of the modeling needs in marketing. Linear regression helps you see those really straightforward relationships, like how ad spend directly impacts sales.
Okay, makes sense.
Logistic regression is perfect for those yes-no situations, like will a customer click or not click?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Got it.
And then, well, there are neural networks.
Which, from what I've heard, are a pretty big deal.
Oh, yeah, for sure. They're like the next level. Especially when things get a bit, more complicated. Like if you're trying to predict something like customer churn.
Oh, churn, the bane of my existence.
I hear you. There's just so much involved, right? It could be their past purchases, their activity on your website, even what they're saying about you on social media. Traditional models, they might miss some of those subtle things, the interplay between all those factors.
Yeah.
But neural networks, they're built to uncover those patterns.
So they're kind of like those super sleuths, right? Instead of just looking at the obvious stuff, they're piecing together all the little details to get the full picture.
Exactly.
But how do they actually work, these neural networks? The book talks about how they, mimic the human brain, right?
Right, they can actually, in a way, learn how the brain works. They have all these interconnected nodes, kind of like neurons,
Yeah.
And they, process information, pass it along.
Okay.
It's wild. It's this whole web of connections that can spot things that would make a normal model completely go haywire.
Okay, so I'm picturing this, giant web of data with each little node doing its thing. But let's bring it back down to earth for a sec. The book uses this real estate example, right? Something about predicting rent prices.
Oh, yeah. So, say you're trying to figure out how much an apartment will rent for, just based on how far it is from downtown.
Okay.
A typical model might be further away, cheaper rent, simple, right? And it'll just draw a straight line. But we all know it's not actually like that in real life.
Oh, tell me about it. You get some trendy neighborhood way out in the boonies. They think they can charge a fortune.
Exactly.
Hmm?
And that's where neural networks come in. They can handle those little quirks,
If not,
neighborhood trends, what amenities the building has, even if there's a cool coffee shop on the corner. They just make these much more accurate predictions.
so it's less about like a straight line and more like a messy map with all the twists and turns?
That's it.
Man, this is like bending my brain a bit, but in a good way. Okay, so neural networks, they sound crazy powerful, but the book also talks about this overfitting thing. What is that all about?
Okay, so imagine you've got this model and you're training it, right?
Yeah.
But you're only using data from one super successful month, kind of a fluke.
Right.
It'll be amazing at predicting those kinds of situations, but totally bomb when it comes to, just a normal month.
So it's like that one sales guy who's crushing it in a super niche market, but anywhere else, he can't close a deal.
Yeah, exactly. It's learn the wrong lesson, the quirks of that data, not the real underlying patterns. And that's overfitting, and it's not good.
Not good at all. So how do we avoid that?
Well, that's where we use techniques like regularization.
Regularization. Is that like giving our models a chill pill or something?
Pretty much. It's
Yeah.
like we're saying, hey, now, don't get too excited about each data point. Just take it easy.
Okay, so we're basically, what, keeping it from going overboard, but still letting it learn?
You got it. We need a model that's adaptable, not, stuck in its ways.
Makes sense. Okay, so besides these neural networks, the book also mentions support vector machines. SVMs, what are those all about?
Yeah, SVMs. Think of them like those chefs who can, chop and slice data with incredible precision. They're the best for those yes-no situations, like will they buy or not buy?
Mm.
But they use this trick called kernels.
Okay, kernels. Now we're getting really technical. Break it down for me.
So picture this.
Yeah.
You're trying to, group your customers by how they shop.
Love it. Segmentation's my jam.
Right. Some are those impulse buyers, and then you've got those who are, reading every review, comparing prices. Kernels help us figure out how similar those customer profiles are, so the SVM can really draw a clear line between the groups.
So it's less about each individual purchase and more about their overall shopping, vibe.
Exactly.
I like it.
And here's the best part. Kernels work even when a straight line won't cut it. Think of those customers who are kind of a mix of impulse and research-driven. SVMs can handle that, finding those curved, nonlinear boundaries between groups, even if they overlap.
Okay, that's super cool. But the book also mentions these support vectors. Do they fit in here too?
Totally. They're like the VIPs, the data points that are closest to that dividing line. They're the ones that really determine where that boundary is drawn.
So if we're talking about those impulse buyers versus the researchers, the support vectors would be the ones right on the edge, maybe doing a little of both.
Exactly. That's it. And by zeroing in on those on-the-fence cases, SVMs can draw really, really precise boundaries. And that means what? Way better predictions for your campaigns.
See, and that's why they call it a powerful tool.
Yeah.
Okay, enough about SVMs for now. Let's move on to something a little more, shall we say, intuitive. Decision trees.
Yes. Decision trees. They're like those flowcharts we see everywhere. Except, in this case, they help us make sense of all our data. And even, predict what's going to happen.
So instead of if this, then that for one process, it's if this customer characteristic, then probably this behavior.
Exactly. Imagine you've got this new product you're launching.
Okay.
And you want to know who's most likely to try it.
Every marketer's dream.
Right. A decision tree would start asking, have they bought similar stuff before? Do they open your emails? Are they all over your socials?
Okay.
And it just keeps branching out from there. So you end up with all these different customer segments, each with their own likelihood of, taking the bait.
It's like choose your own adventure, but for marketing data. I dig it. But how do you keep those trees from getting, out of control? The book mentions pruning, right?
Yes, pruning. It's important, just like with a real tree, Got to keep it from getting too wild and overgrown. Keeps it from getting too complex and, overfitting to the data.
So no branches for, some super niche customer group.
Exactly. A balanced tree, nice and tidy, that works for all kinds of new data. That's the goal.
Yeah.
But what about when even the best pruned decision tree just isn't enough? Or maybe you want to combine insights from, a bunch of different models. That's where ensemble methods come in.
Ensemble methods. That sounds kind of fancy.
I know, right? It's like this. Instead of just using one model, we're building a whole team of experts, like a supergroup. Each model gets to vote, and we combine all the votes to get the absolute best prediction.
So it's like instead of one judge on a talent show, we've got a whole panel.
That's a great way to put it. Way less chance of, like, missing a hidden gem or,
Yeah.
overrating a one-hit wonder.
Love it. So that's bagging, right? What about this boosting thing? The book mentions that too.
Boosting's a little different. It's like, imagine you've got a class of students, right? And they each get a shot at solving the problem.
Okay.
We see where they struggle, what they get wrong, and then the next student gets to learn from that.
Oh, like a study group where they're all sharing notes.
Exactly. It's all about focusing on those areas where the model initially struggled. So you end up with a much, much more accurate result, especially when you've got, like, those really complex relationships in your data.
Man, these ensemble methods sound like real difference makers. But, okay, with all these options, neural networks, SVMs, decision trees, these ensembles, how do you even choose? It seems overwhelming.
It can be a lot. It's like trying to pick from a menu with a million things on it.
The struggle is real.
But the important thing to remember is that they each have their own, strengths and weaknesses. Like, there's no one magic solution.
So how do we avoid total decision fatigue?
That's where, really understanding your data comes in. What are you trying to achieve? What problem are you trying to solve?
It really is. You got to know what tool to use for the job, right? Like, you wouldn't use a hammer when you need a screwdriver.
Exactly. You got to think about the goal and then grab the best tool for it. And you know what? Sometimes the best way is to just, like, use a bunch of them together.
Right. Like sometimes you got to bring out the big guns.
For sure. And that's honestly where those ensemble methods can really blow you away. It's like you can harness the power of all these different models and just create something, super powerful.
It's like we're building some kind of like ultimate marketing machine. All right, but let's switch gears for a bit. I want to talk about how this all ties into something I think we're all pretty familiar with. CRM, customer relationship management.
Oh, yeah, CRM. Definitely can't forget that one. It's like the heart and soul of marketing these days.
Yeah.
And machine learning can, like, seriously shake things up in how we use CRM to connect with customers.
It's like taking personalization to the next level, right? Like
Right.
knowing what your customer wants before even they do.
Exactly. Think about it. You could analyze everything. Their purchase history, what they've been clicking on, even what they're saying about you online, and use it to predict what they're going to need, like, before they even realize it themselves.
It's like magic.
Kinda. That's the
Yeah.
beauty of machine learning.
So no more generic email blasts. It's all about like super targeted offers sent at just the right time, of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it goes way beyond marketing, too.
Yeah.
What about customer service? Like all those AI chatbots that are popping up everywhere.
Yeah, I've definitely seen those. Some are a little rough around the edges, but some are actually pretty good.
Right. And they're only getting smarter. With machine learning, we can train these chatbots on, like, a crazy amount of data so they can handle all sorts of questions and, like, actually be helpful 24/7.
Talk about a game changer. No more putting customers on hold or making them repeat themselves to 5 different people.
And it frees up those human agents to deal with the really, the really tricky stuff, the things that actually need a human touch.
Right, right.
But whether it's marketing or customer service, it all comes back to this. Using data to give people what they want when they want it and make them feel like, like they actually matter.
Yeah, and isn't that what it's all about?
Yeah.
Building those relationships, making those genuine connections. That's how you build a brand.
100%.
Yeah.
But, going back to something we were talking about before, got to remember, machine learning, it's a tool. That's all it is.
Right, right. Yeah. A very powerful tool, but a tool nonetheless.
And we can have the coolest algorithms and the fastest computers, but it doesn't mean anything if we don't use them the right way.
So it's not just about the tech, it's about the people behind the tech.
That's it.
We need marketers who get it, who understand the power of this stuff, but also, the responsibility that comes with it.
Yeah. We can't just throw a bunch of data at a problem and hope for the best.
We need marketers who can bridge that gap between like the data and, actual human intuition.
Yes. People who get the numbers and understand the humans behind those numbers.
Mm-hmm. Marketers who aren't afraid to roll up their sleeves and get their hands dirty with the data, but never lose sight of the bigger picture, It's about using this technology to actually make things better, to build something real with your customer.
That's it. That's what it all comes down to.
Uh,
And the marketers who get that, they're the ones who are going to thrive in this whole, like, new world of AI and everything.
So well said. Well, that just about wraps up our deep dive into machine learning and artificial intelligence in marketing and sales. We covered a lot today, everything from neural networks to, like, the ethics of using these crazy, powerful
So
tools.
don't forget decision trees.
Oh, right, decision trees too. So many good ones. But hey, this is really just the beginning, right? There's always something new to learn in this field.
It's always changing, always evolving. It's part of what makes it so exciting.
So true. So, to everyone listening, stay curious, don't be afraid to try new things and never stop learning.
And have fun with it. You never know. You might just stumble onto the next big thing in marketing.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Until next time, happy analyzing,
Happy marketing.
and we'll catch you on the flip side.